Kinfolk, let us see what he's talking about. Let us see what he's talking about. Come here, pull up a chair, come over here to the round table where we break it all down. Say what? We about to break bread right now. No, I know it's gonna be a touchy subject for a few people. You know what I'm saying? I know. Mm, even if you don't know yet, it's gonna be a touchy subject. It's one of those topics that if you're a hopeless romantic, if you're a lover, you know what I'm saying, it can be hard for you to come to grips with. It can be hard for you to actually carry out or go through with drawing that line in the sand that has to be drawn or that is being drawn, whether you know it or not. There's lines being drawn in the sand, um, based on choices we make, based on choices other people make. The vibration that you choose to lend your energy to definitely gives way to a line being drawn in the sand. Um, some of us choose to allow for our energy to be, inhabited by things that aren't becoming of us. What's up with it, Shishi? How you been, love? So, you know, what we do always over here is we like to give thanks when we notice certain lines being drawn in the sand. That's great to hear. That you've been good, man. Um, I've been grateful. You know what I'm saying? It's hard. I try not to indulge too much in what's been going on. I just been growing through it no matter what it is. Case in point, we're gonna talk about today the lines that's being drawn in the sand. I've been getting back in the mode of actually doing the lives, you know what I'm saying? I definitely could use some help with maybe downloading some of the lives and keeping them stored up, you know what I'm saying, so to speak, in order to later release them, later release them. What's up with the Egyptian? Give me 1 second, I gotta go. I'll turn y'all around with me. Hold on. Let me get this tea. Take y'all with me. But been a lot of volatility, you know what I'm saying, in my existence. What's up with the Egyptian princess? Appreciate you being off in here. You could, if you would, tap that screen. If you hear something good, drop a comment, share the live, you activate yourself. But there's been a lot of volatility in my existence that should I not recognize the purpose of it? You know what I'm saying? It might drive me crazy, but I definitely get it. You know what I'm talking about? I definitely get it. I've been coming to grips with for as much as, perceived bad stuff happens in my existence. A lot. For as much as perceived bad stuff happens in my existence, there's a balance that must take place. You feel me? There's a balance that will come into play to the point that, I'm learning to give thanks that I was able to survive a lot of the things that's being thrown my way to the point that I know that on the other side of it, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be grateful for it going as far as it did, for being tested as much as I have been tested. Because it's a saying that rings true. Um, I hear my granny saying, "To whom much is given, much is required." For as much bad stuff happens in your life, good stuff must happen too. You know what I'm saying? So there's a balance that life definitely operates from, and it's inevitable in life. So I'm grateful to know that, you know what I'm saying, that these things are inevitable. Um, so as much as, there's a blow up, there's a blow back. Excuse me, man, it's all on you. How you interpret that. You can get a rhythm of life to a point that even the so-called downside, even that, what I mean, you get to a point that you're like, hey, I'm cool with that too. I'm grateful for that too. Um, but I get it, for those who, we have to weigh it out on a negative or a positive. We have to weigh it out on a good or a bad scale, right? But I'm getting to the point that I'm realizing like life is not waiting on me to give my feedback. Life is not waiting on me to say, in my report, this went well and this went bad. It's not. Um, you know, One of my favorite songs is Nothing Even Matters. If you live your life on a scale of recognizing, you just, begin to live. And within living, you can see the mystery unwrap itself, or you know what I'm saying, unravel to a point that you begin to recognize that life is sad and beautiful at the same time. It's all good though. So with it pretty lean. How you doing, Felicia? You know what I'm saying? Life is good and bad at the same time. But where are you gonna draw your line in the sand? Um, where you gonna allow for yourself to be placed when it's all said and done? Are you going to continue to stand on the side of the negativity that you acknowledge all the time? The negativity that you give purpose to because you're the one exercising it. I know a lot of us like, man, I don't sit around and do bad to folks, but if you always acknowledging the bad in life, you feel me? You still can a part of that energy is kind of like, you know, um, a performer or an athlete of sorts. Those who show up to support that athlete are very important to the what I'm saying, the survival or the thriving of what you support. So giving our energy, talking about it all the time, focusing on it, surrounding ourselves with people that focus on that type of stuff is no different than being a part of the fan club. No different than being a part of the fan club of negativity. So I would encourage you to just be aware, because if we saying nothing even matters, it's just being aware. Um, and awareness allows for you to remember. And in remembering, you begin to, just like the word says, remember. You know what I'm saying? Like put things together. Um, be able to put yourself together when maybe you might feel like you breaking down. You know what I'm saying? If you can just be aware enough in that moment to notice that, you can always remember. And I know that seems simple and it's simplified, but they say true genius, well, it's known that true genius is to take something that appears complicated and break it down to where even the youngest amongst you can understand. Uh, Break it down or simplify it in a way that even a 3-year-old can grasp so-called complicated concepts. I'm reminded of the guy who is credited with, of course, we know it was Edison and Lattimore working together, right? Um, Whichever way you want to say more work was done, but um, one of their sayings was, and I'm paraphrasing, is I found thousands of ways that it wouldn't work. I found thousands of ways that it wouldn't work. Not, you know what? I found thousands of ways why I should have gave up. Not that, because if they felt like giving up, we would never have these lights that we so often use in our existence. But I'm saying that to say for a lot of us, we feel like we having this onslaught of problems. We just keep on going through things, which, like I said earlier, pay attention to as much good stuff happening in your life, some bad stuff bound to happen, and the same is true in reverse. So as much bad stuff happening in your life, there's good stuff that's bound to happen to balance that out. And so when you understand that, it's imperative, it's important that you're aware enough in each moment to recognize on which side of the line in the sand that everything goes, to the point that you can even give thanks in the midst of unpleasant occurrences or occurrences that you just didn't picture. Because when we really break it down, that's what it boils down to. Like a lot of times, the stuff that we consider uncomfortable or things that we don't want to happen in our lives, it's just experiences that we didn't plan or didn't see coming, you know? But the beauty of this life is to recognize that, Marie, we come from the all knowing, you feel me? Meaning we come from the energy that brought everything into being, and we chose to have a human existence where we could be surprised a lot of times. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know about y'all, but it used to be a time I didn't like surprise parties or surprise gifts or any kind of surprise. You know what I mean? Um, and when I started to taper that back or follow those breadcrumbs back, I realized the reason why I didn't like that is because majority of the surprises that I knew up until then was related to things that weren't favorable, right? I kind of knew when my birthday came around, I was about to, get certain things, you feel me? So it was never a surprise around that time, you feel me? But the surprises I would see was like getting in trouble for things that I didn't know was necessarily right or wrong before I did it. I can't say in the moment, once I actually did it, I didn't know that it was right or wrong. Because I could feel a certain level of uncomfortability or a certain level of, I could feel other people's feelings. A lot of us, we blocked out people's feelings as much as we blocked out our own feelings to the point that we don't feel too much of nothing. We don't feel too much of nothing, but it don't change the facts that there is an energy exchange taking place in each occurrence in our lives. There is a change that's taking place with everything that we experience. What's up with it, mom? Um, each thing that we experience in life, right? To the point, like I said, be present and aware enough in each experience to the point that you could give thanks for even the things that you didn't picture happening. Good morning, Queen. Um, the things that you didn't picture happening. And a lot of times, if you start paying enough attention to the occurrences in your life, you'll be able to recognize that majority of the things that you don't give thanks for or that you're not happy about is really just things that you didn't picture happening. Best example I can give is appreciate the lights love is when you're dealing with kids, right? And especially when they small or whatever. If you pay attention to how other people like they let their kids do whatever they want to until they get to a point they sick and tired, right? And then they say kids are bad. But truth be told, if you set a tone with these kids, right? You let them know how things gonna be. For the most part, they'll follow along with it because they know that's how things are going to be. They recognize that's how things are. You know what I'm saying? Every now and then they might get off the beaten path to learn something for themselves, right? But even in them moments, that's a teaching moment, not necessarily a moment where you should fault them for learning a lesson or you should blame them, right? To the point that you shame them and break their spirits to the point. What's up with it, Kobe? To the point that they have a hard time learning the lesson that's in front of them. And if you do that enough, you'll break their spirit to the point that when things that because for the like once you live life enough days, you know what I'm saying? Like I wouldn't even say enough years, life is pretty predictable. After one day there'll be another day. You know that at each part of the day there are certain times that give way to the next time. You feel me? You know that in order to get certain places you gotta walk. And if you walk long enough you will arrive. Like those are the few things that are predictable about life, right? To the point that we could get down on ourselves um about the predictability of life, or we could just, appreciate the things that we do know is gonna happen. But at the same time, look at the moments that we don't necessarily know what's gonna happen and be grateful for those. Um, I'm learning to say in those moments, look, I don't know how things is gonna work out in my favor right now, so I obviously know that there's a greater purpose taking place in this moment. And a lot of times things in my life they worked out far greater than I ever imagined. To the point, appreciate that love. To the point that I wish that I had. Okay, the only part I can make out is re. Appreciate you, re. According to re, my bad. Appreciate you coming through. Um, I wish that I had at times, right? At times, I wish that I had loftier goals. You know what I mean? Because things, no matter where I wish for them to be, what's up, Malaysian? I wish for them to be. It's like it's surpassed it every time. Um, Even my desires, right? So when I think about again balancing shit out, balancing it out, as much as I'm going through things that I feel like is trying my patience, I feel like things is not so-called working in I can't even I can't even lie and say, what I used to say, like things ain't working in my favor. I know it to be me not having the understanding of how great the totality of the things that's working out in my life for. Because everything that I've been through, it had a place. You feel me? Like it always came full circle to the point I was like, you know what? I'm glad I went through that before because now it makes sense to what I'm dealing with now. I'm glad that I experienced adversity at a young age because as I'm beginning to wise up, I see that that adversity wasn't to make me quit. That adversity wasn't to make me right. That adversity wasn't to make me feel like I was less than, but it was to show me the strength that I had held in. And had it not been tested, it would have never been exercised. But now it's to the point that if I be honest, I put myself in situations um in order to strengthen myself for the eventual testing that the unforeseen matters will bring up. So, I and it irritates people around me, but even with that, that's part of my testing too. You know what I'm saying? Recognizing that when you're stepping out to do things, to prepare yourself, it's like preparing a meal or preparing for war. The war is won through preparation. The meal tastes that much better when you can tell somebody prepared it rather than just rushing. Um, it's almost like, you can tell the difference for those who love they meat, you feel me, when it's marinated. You know what I'm saying? When that meat get marinated overnight. And for me, um, loving certain things like certain parts of recipes, because recipes are inclusive of multitudes of herbs, spices, you know what I'm saying, different vegetables, things that don't naturally, coexist together, right? But us combining them. And so in order for these combinations to take hold, sometimes it takes time, right? Um, I remember noticing how lasagna tastes so much better after it's been sitting in the refrigerator overnight. And so for some of us, you feel like, I know for me, feel like life is at a standstill. Um, I feel like a collective of our experiences, appreciate you tapping the screen, love. A collective of our experiences are combining or colliding, appearing as chaos to some of us who don't understand the ways of change, right? At the same time, and then as a result of them colliding and combining, you feel me, and marinating together, it becomes a standstill to the point you're like, you know what, this is like I'm having a standoff with life. I'm having a standoff with life to where it's like, am I gonna turn my back on myself, meaning the collective of my experiences up until now? Am I gonna turn my back on recognizing what all of that meant, what all of that was for? Am I gonna forego that for this moment of uncomfortability? For this moment where I can't, my way forward is not visible. I'm reminded of times of riding down the interstate, going through different cities and different states, and running into a fog patch, you know, and I could barely see what's in front of me. But I know I'm headed in the right direction because I know where I set out to go and what road or interstate I got on, to the point that I just have to push through when I can't see. I just have to keep going, even when I don't know where this is going. I don't know if there's something that's gonna come across my path that could cause me to have a mistake or an accident. But when you realize how your existence is not accidental, when you realize how you give off an energy signature that even if somebody might not be able to see you themselves, they can feel if they're in tune enough with their energy field, they can feel their way around. They can feel that there's something over there, but I can't. And going back to the cars is like in the fog, I can see a light. You know what I'm saying? A light that wouldn't naturally be there if there's nothing there. And so when you're going through life, you know what I'm saying? It's like there's lights that show up along your path to open up the way in which we should go or to continue us on the way in which we're already headed. But we don't see how it's going to work out. So for some of us, we stop our feet. We hit the brakes. Now imagine I hit the brakes in the middle of the interstate. Hmm. The dangers of hitting the brakes in the middle of the interstate and somebody else can't see, you can cause yourself to have an accident. You're going to cause yourself to get hit by a more unpleasant situation than you just pushing forward. Same thing in life. We stop our feet and we think, okay, I'm avoiding. Mm. You wind up getting hit from the back, meaning you get hit with your past. Your past reminds you, like, you know what, you did this before. You stopped your feet before. You stopped your feet before, and it here we are again, experiencing the adversity that comes when you don't trust in the fact that your existence was already ordained, already put in place in such a way, man, what you don't deal with eventually will deal with you. That's facts. That's facts, love. Um, and even when they deal with you, you will be humbled by way of how it worked out in your favor. Things don't happen to you, they happen for you. And all it just takes is a shift in how you look at it. That's all it takes. What's over the Chuck? All it takes is a shift in how you look at it for you to stop being humbled all the time. I don't know about y'all, but I done been humbled in ways where it's like, man. I knew better. I knew things was gonna work out in my favor. I am hmm, the reminiscence. I am the essence of things that was once hoped for, things that my ancestors once prayed to be, things that my ancestors came together and conjured together. You know what I mean? Because of the exchange and the love that they shared amongst each other, the exchange of energy, to the point that how in the heck do I feel like there's no way that things are gonna work out in my favor when I was already favored to be here? My existence alone is favor enough. And so when I say live as though nothing even matters, don't pay attention to what happened over here. Don't pay attention to what happened over there. Don't pay attention to what happened back there. Don't even give too much thought into what's gonna happen going forward. Stop thinking life needs your report on reminding yourself of what happened the last time. It don't. It don't need your report. It needs you to show up and be aware enough to where you can remember the greatness that is you. Not remember your past so you can beat yourself down. Not remember your past so you can forget all that you've been through up until now. That has made you the greatest version that you can behold right now. But what you're going through right now is about to take hold of you in such a way that you're gonna see that you even greater than you ever knew. Not just great things are happening for you, but there's great things that are coming up out of you that are being expressed through you to the point that you didn't even realize you was that great. You ain't even realize you had that in you. To where when that person drew that line in the sand and said, you know what, I ain't gonna stand with you no more. They thought they was hurting you. Some people come to realize that as much as things was going good for them to the point that they felt like they could cut you off. Man, right? What was done to me wasn't bigger than what was done in me. Come on now. Some people felt like they was doing so good in life, you hear me? To the point they ain't need you no more. I'm gonna say that again. Some people felt like they were doing so good in life to the point they ain't need you no more. And granted, some of these people probably did rise up in expenses. You know what I mean? I mean not expenses, income. They might have got a new car. You know what I'm saying? And don't need you no more. But now here it is. Not that we wish this on folks, you know what I'm saying? But this is how life go. Now here it is, they got that money and now what they thought they could utilize to put distance between you and them is causing them more issues. Hmm. I give you this best example that I have for myself, right? I remember being on the bus and not quite appreciating the bus, right? To the point I was just wishing and wishing for a car. You know what I'm saying? Wishing and wishing for a car, right? But not understanding what it takes to maintain a car. So when I got a car, right, I messed around and had that car a short period of time because I ain't realize how to maintenance that car. I ain't realize how many folks was gonna show up in my life all of a sudden wanting to be bothered with me because they felt like they had access to my car. So now I'm bringing certain energies in my environment. I'm going certain places I wouldn't normally go. And for a lot of us, we asking for things, man. We asking for things and not realizing what come with that. The moment you try to grade life into what matters and what doesn't, you give weight attention. You create attention in your own life. to the point that when certain things come up that you're not familiar with, you tense up, you get anxiety. You're like, hold up, I ain't asked for this, but I need you to change that. You need you to change that. When I say I'm talking about the I that is in you and me, the greater version that appears to be separate, but it's the same. Rephrase that. So I asked for this. I asked for this. Can't tell you how many times I had to tell myself that in order to endure a testing, in order to come out in flying colors. Because when you're being tested, what really show your strength is how calm you can remain in the midst of a situation. When we see people losing themselves, getting out of control, we assume you know what I'm saying, they losing. Mm. Whew. Can I repeat that? Can I repeat that one? 'Cause I don't know what I'm talking about. I can't even take credit for that one. She said I'm gonna say your name, Bree Latrice said I had to ask God to fix me for the situation. That reminds me of a statement I always say that, man, I ain't gonna tell you you're gonna stop having problems. I wish I could, but it wouldn't be realistic. But I will tell you this, you will get stronger. The more you allow for yourself to be aware in each situation that you're facing, you will get stronger. You know what I'm saying? You will get stronger shoulders to be able to carry that weight. You invent guilt when you give way to the voice that says you could have been doing more. Yeah, I know some of us we was taught that. You know what I'm saying? You can always be doing more. You create guilt within yourself when you say that. You create guilt within yourself when you say that. We naturally have these things in us called drive, will to go on. You know what I'm saying? You don't gotta sit there and keep on overdoing it. You don't gotta reinvent the wheel. Let me say that again. You do not have to reinvent the wheel. Your acknowledgement is enough. Recognize when you're doing what you're supposed to do, which I'm not gonna lie to you. I couldn't find out doing enough is being grateful in each moment. We overdo it. We overdo it. We try to act like exactly becoming aware allows for you to be grateful in each moment. Becoming more aware of the things to be grateful for. Be grateful for your testing. Be grateful for it. Be grateful you ain't show out. Be grateful you ain't act a fool. What's up with it, vocal doctor? Be grateful you didn't show out the last time. Somebody tried to provoke you. Like pay attention to the words, family. Pay attention to the word they try to provoke you. The question you gotta ask yourself is who control you? Hmm? Not who control the experiences that you go through, but who control you. Your moods gonna give way to how you know what I'm saying, you exercise yourself. Your thoughts gonna give way to how you view life. And when you put all that together, your imagination is gonna give way to what you manifest as your reality. Go back to the notebook. You can reach higher chasing a seriousness that was never real to begin with. That's what you tell yourself. You can reach higher chasing a seriousness that was never real to begin with. Why you play with yourself like that? Why are you ungrateful for the growth that you've made thus far? And if you're ungrateful towards yourself, how could you be grateful for anything else? How could you ever be grateful for anything else? So often I caught myself not being able to appreciate things because they came from somebody else. I'm gonna say that again. So often I found myself not being able to appreciate things in my life because they came from somebody else. I wanted to be the one to open that door. I wanted to be the one to make that happen for my family. But part of being grateful and being thankful is recognizing when you couldn't, it still happened. When it was outside of your control, it still worked its way out. I'm just saying. Eh, mm, the struggle is part of part of the play. Realize we are meant to dance, not march. Struggle is a part of life. And the sooner you realize that, you'll be able to dance, not march. Not march. See, when you marching, you gotta be stiff. You know what I'm saying? But when you dancing, you loosen up. You know what I'm talking about? Get to it. You feel me? It give you a certain a level of joy. You feel me? Like while you going. So it's like stop living life as though you marching. Like you going into a battle. You just preparing for things to go wrong. Just preparing for things to work against you. Recognize the rhythm of life. So when the ups and downs come, you can appreciate them. You feel me? You can appreciate the low tones. You know, a lot of us love that bass. You feel me? That's that low tone. You feel me? You can appreciate the hi hats. You feel me? What's up with the Ruthie? You can appreciate the gaps in between each sound. See, a lot of folks don't realize that there was no silence or gaps in between each sound. You couldn't, man, come on, that music ain't gonna hit the same. It's gonna sound like a whole bunch of noise running into each other. What's up with it, Divine? But when you begin to do this dance in life, you know what I'm saying? When you begin to, perfect time in love. When you begin to get that rhythm of life down pat, you're not caught off guard by anything. You anticipate it. Definitely. Do Ruthie. I wouldn't I wanna know how to coexist for real. Appreciate you being in here, Divine. Without that ability, I can't see myself apart from. But when you begin to prepare for the ups and downs, when you're aware that there's gonna be ups and downs, it don't catch you off guard. It don't catch you off guard. And you get back to that God head, that God self that you came from, that all knowing that you came from. You feel me? Not knowing how it's gonna play out in your human eyesight, right? But in your spirit eye, you knowing it's gonna work out in my favor. That's that Godhead. The more you get in tune with that, to the point you able to be grateful, no matter what come about. Oh, okay. Folks say they, when they pass, they want to be in the heavenly glory. They want to be back in the essence of what brought all this into being, right? But my granny used to tell me there gonna be certain parts of heaven that you're not gonna be able to behold, based on what you didn't understand while you was here, or didn't take the time to get clear. You see, when you open up that doorway of gratefulness, things that start to unfold in a way that, you know what I'm saying, you begin to get wiser and wiser, meaning having a different understanding each time. You watch the same movie, but you see something different every time. You watch the same car go down the street, but you notice something different the more you learn about cars. Mm, mm. You still dealing with women, but you notice something different to be grateful for the more you learn about what they go through. You still dealing with men, but you learn something more to be grateful for the more you seek understanding about men and what they go through, how they wired. Mm. Hey, look, I'm gonna enjoy this life. I'm gonna work with those who's willing to work on themselves. Cause that's what we gonna constantly do in my environment. Cause I'm gonna constantly be growing. I'm gonna be constantly be willing to hear out somebody else's perspective. Meaning I'm be seeking understanding through another vessel, which is gonna grow me regardless. Cause I realize that's me inside that vessel too. It's only an illusion of separation that we going through right now. It's only an illusion, and I love having these conversations with you guys, but I'm not gonna front with you. A lot of this is still surface to me. It's still like it's still too high up on the surface. You know what I'm saying? I'm ready to go. But that's that's where the land come about. That's where you know what I'm talking about? We pushing there though. We pushing there. Cause I dream there, you know. I keep having more and more dreams. What's up with it, Derek? Well, we already there. Appreciate you being there, hello. Um, Man, that's crazy. We both started talking about land at the same time. Latrice. Sometimes it get to a point that my spirit begins to do a dance in the midst of me. There's times where, I'm walking. Today I was walking, right? I wound up, it's amazing. It's amazing when you really think about it. I was taking the kids to school, right? And through taking the kids to school, I had to ride down this road that it's in my old neighborhood, right? This is where my parents first bought they own house. You know what I mean? Um, it's where I first noticed I had my own room and my sisters as well. And I used to spend a lot of time in the yard, right? But that's not the point I'm going for. But it was a place of independence, a place of exploration, a place of being conscious of my existence. And so as I'm riding down the road taking the kids to school the week before, I'm like, man, one day I just want to get out and go by my old house just to feel the energy. Remember where a lot of my inspiration is drawn from. And so today, I can truly say that what I think becomes my reality because a traumatic situation happened, right? That led to me being here. Um, a painful situation allowed for me to become aware of how my thoughts shape my reality. Um, so it started with me desiring to be here, right? And I'm thinking is my desire. You feel me? But desires, I realize, is preparation for what's about to happen. And so when did this happen? I want to say Sunday night. The house was shot up. And mind you, I had no desires to come back to Nashville for this very reason. What's up with it? So, um, And I had, had this fixated in my mind, like, I don't need to come back to Nashville because so many crazy memories of the things that happened here when I was young, things I was involved in, only for me to get here. And now these certain things that I thought would happen is playing out. But I'm not the same person though. Good afternoon to you too, sis. I'm not the same person, so they not hitting the same. Um, but this is the third time in a matter of 3 months, I say. Hmm. 3 months, I say. Hmm. Paying attention to them numbers. Um, right, we grow. But I realize also as I'm telling you guys this, something else I desired to make sure I had in me was the ability to respond properly when these type of things happen. Now, the first time, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was so throwed off that I felt like I hit the ground so fast without covering or making sure my loved ones got down. Which they did though, you know what I'm saying? But I wanted to have my wherewithal to where I was the one to make sure they got down. Be a true provision and self protection. So that stuck with me on that first time. Second time, it hit me so hard that I almost thought one of my loved ones was gone because they weren't moving. And I called their name again. It's like they was praying, they said. So I'm like, okay, all right. But that, for some reason, that didn't sit well with me. Right, right. That's facts. That didn't sit well with me. The fact that somebody could rattle somebody I love that much to the point they just praying everything be all right. But I immediately was thrown in a place of recognizing the protection that's being expressed over my life, as well as the people that I'm in contact with. Because I was like, why am I here? Why am I back in Nashville? All the while, I was seeing to protect this family, give them my opportunity to change their ways, to understand what protection looks like, to understand that we come into each other's lives to provide more than just monetary gains or the benefit of what it looked like for somebody to be a part of your life. So as I'm walking past my childhood home, remembering where my thoughts gave way to this, I took a picture and I proceeded to want to cry. Like I felt that, you know what I'm saying, that pull on me, but it was like the tears flowed inward, like it was watering something that's soon to come to pass. I was reminded of all the conversations I've had of the importance of making memories, the importance of awareness that wasn't received all that well, you know what I mean? But it was received nonetheless when I think about it. Because if you think about people who have been let down, just think about yourself. When you've been let down so many times and people tell you they're gonna do something, you don't want to hear that shit. You don't want to hear that. Nah, facts. We open the doors for each other. So I have to, even in the times when I just want to, I had to remain disciplined, disciplined in my thought process enough to say that I'm gonna be grateful regardless to what's going on. I'm gonna be grateful. You know, some of my favorite movies, they used to always talk about how like crazy I used to be in the sci-fi movies as a kid before I even knew what that was. But the people would come in, right? Or the beings would come in and would be ready to destroy the planet. But they couldn't destroy the planet because they would find at least one being that had a pure heart. And we'd be too busy worrying about multitudes of people having a pure heart. And pureness of heart is simply operating from what we was created to do anyway. We was created to set our intentions to have a positive impact on one another. Expression is positive. Now, yet some of us could unintentionally or ungratefully use our expression for negativity. But when you think about the old ways in which we would make pictures come into being, it only took one. Um, but that's just show you the power that you do have. So while you waiting on other people to exercise your power, something of greater intelligence is saying it's not necessary. It's not necessary. It don't take all of that. But that's an excuse. In case nobody ever told you, you're making an excuse to not do you, not living up to your potential. Hmm. Still hear my granny riding down the road. She seeing a homeless man. She like that man. That man was a genius. That man was super intelligent. But now here it is, not living up to his potential. Now I know she had her reasons for saying it, but only you know when you're not living up to your potential. And potential is endless. Potential is endless. So as sure as you accomplish what you felt like you had the potential to do today, tomorrow there's a new level. There's a new level, and that's good news. Imagine you accomplishing everything that you already set out to accomplish. You start settling at that point. You start being comfortable or seeking comfort, only to realize things are constantly changing. So you can never get comfortable. Sure as you love laying on that couch, now you don't wore that couch out. Now it's uncomfortable. I'm just saying. Let me get the rest of this in here on y'all real quick. Um, Noticing the rhythm of life, our seriousness is self-inflicted. The meaning we chase is already placed in the act of living. So all that seriousness that we think come by way of us just living, you feel me? We chasing it, and it's self-inflicted. It's not necessary. It's not necessary. You ever heard the saying, you take yourself too serious? You take yourself too serious? Oh, okay. To the point you start blaming yourself for stuff that you didn't do. Oh, you should have did this when this happened. You should have did. Stop. Stop. And a lot of times these be in situations that we don't really want to keep repeating. But the fact that you won't let it go, now you have to repeat it. But when you do repeat it, you know what I'm saying? Make sure you rise to that occasion. Otherwise, you're gonna start doubting yourself. To act as if nothing matters is to play wholeheartedly, knowing there is nothing actively at stake. Tap back into that inner child so where you can actually live life again, but not begin to procrastinate because you think everything is at stake or hinged on your next moment, your next thought. Loosen up, feel the rhythm. You know what I'm saying? Feel the rhythm of life. Where you gonna draw the line in the sand? You done been doing what you been doing. You know what I'm saying? When it's too much? When is it gonna be too much? When you gonna let it go? Let it go. You done been serious all this time. Where it got you? I'm reminded of a conversation with my mama. She was telling me stuff wouldn't be happening if you was still in church preaching. I said, Mama, you go to church every Sunday, or every time the door open and you still go through stuff. It's part of life. So don't shame me or don't judge me. Those who recognize they going through something are more aware of life than most. Think about some of my friends growing up. You know, people used to be so worried for them because they was going through so much at a young age. I see a lot of them, they so much further along in their thought process because of the things that they experienced at a young age. When they switched back, they drew their line in the sand. Hmm. I know a lot of people say switched up. You know what I'm saying? I say they switched back. Some people resort back to what they know. You feel me? Some people just go back to what they know. And to you, it may feel like they switched up. But you don't know how they was before they met you. You changed the, you know what I'm saying, the atmosphere for these folk when you came around. But when you seek to understand people, right? And you seek to truly get to know people, rather than falling in love with who you think they are or where you think they could fit in your life. Hmm. You love them for who they are to the point that if they never change, you okay with that. But if they do change, it's like a cherry on top. It's like, darn, I get to know some more about you. So really, it ain't that they changed. It's just you got to know some more about them. There's so many facets to you. So for somebody to say you changed, when you really think about it, you don't get better. You just get a better understanding of yourself, and so you better express yourself. You are the greatness you've been seeking this whole time. And the more things that you go through, it's revealed. The more people turn their back on you, the more you see that you don't need all that. You don't gotta be all that. It really don't. But with that being said, family, I love you as myself, and it ain't nothing you can do about it. As we are one. And I'm so glad we in connection. Kinfolk. Now that we see what they talking about, yeah, we see what they talking about. Cause we just came over here, put up a chair, come to the round table where we just broke it all down. Say why we just broke bread right now. Reach out to me, family. We gonna lock in. Something telling me we need to do something. But love you. See y'all soon.